You've been killing the runs recently. I want to hear July 19th, 2024, 8:30 p.m. What's going through your mind?
Was that the 50
That
mile?
was 52 miles, freaking all around New York City. What do you? 1 minute before you started, was that the plan? Like, what? Take me through your mindset.
Yeah, I did my last marathon May 5th and then had some injuries and then just like slowly got more obsessed with running as far as I could and increasing weekly mileage. Like, if you know, it's very addicting to like watch that freaking Strava graph go up, and it's like 80 miles a week, 90 miles a week. And the weekend before that, I had done 3 marathons in 3 days, which was really fun. And it was hard. But then I was like, what's next? And I had a guy visiting New York, this guy Hector Rodriguez, legend. He does a lot of ultras, does a lot of crewing. And he was visiting. He's like, let's do something while I'm here. Whatever you want to do, I'll crew you. I got you. And I'm like, are you sure? he's like, yes. And I had the idea of running. I thought it'd be cool to run from sunset to sunrise in New York, which is like 9 hours. And
so the plan was time, not even distance?
Yeah. At first the plan was time, and then I started to look at like, okay, what's my pace probably going to be? And then the plan became 9 hours minimum and have to hit 50 miles. And it kind of aligned perfect. It would align perfectly as long as I didn't like die or bonk completely. Yeah. And it did end up, I ran, I think 52 miles in about 9 hours. And, yeah, it was one of those things where it's the same thing with the weekend before. You commit, and then for me, it's just like your brain turns off and you don't think about it. You just accept that it's going to happen. You start your watch and it just happens. I don't know. It was a weird experience, that run. That was my first time doing more than 33 miles. That was my last kind of furthest. And yeah, it's a wild feeling being an hour into a run, which is like, that's a good run.
Right.
And still having 8 hours left. The wildest moment was being 4 hours in, which is long. That was almost the longest I've ever ran. You still have 5 hours left. And running on time versus distance is very different as well. Because like if you run via distance, it's just your brain is used to that frame. But once it's time, it's like, oh, there's no escaping it. It's like, I can't run faster to finish it. And so, yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting. I'm not going to say it was like the best night of my life. And I'm not even going to say it was like the hardest. It was just a strange experience. It was like, I described it as like 9 hours of nothingness, which is, I think, how a lot of runners who do a lot of ultras experience it. But it was cool. I like pushing myself and knowing I could go do that.
What was the biggest thing you learned about yourself during those 9 hours in reflection?
That I'm capable of a lot when it comes to running and ultras. And it's really just whatever I want to do, I'll turn my brain off and go do it. Which is like a good feeling to know that I'm capable of that. Because until you prove it, it's just, in your head. And one thing we said, which was interesting, it's like your brain just adjusts the pain, and how you perceive it is totally just based on what you set. So like halfway through the pain I was feeling for 50 miles, if I'd set 100 miles, I would have probably felt the same way at 50 miles. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I would have done it. And it's just like what you go out for determines how hard it is. And it just makes you realize that it's just a matter then of like what goals you set. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
A part of the journey of that run that I wanted to ask you about, and I could be mistaken here, but I'm pretty sure I saw this on your story or something, or Strava or whatever platform, that you ran through Central Park and you didn't realize that Central Park gets closed, and so y'all were running away from the cops or something.
Well, yeah, that was true. I didn't realize it makes sense that it closes, but yeah, like the cops stopped my friend, and then we just decided to keep running through it. The best was on the West Side Highway. The West Side Highway, which if you know New York, that's like this running path on the West Side where everyone runs. I figured that would be open. Like it's like you could run there at any time. And we were running there at like 2 a.m. and there was like cops there or patrol, whatever. And they pull off the bike. So Hector was following me on a bike for the full 9 hours. And they say, you can't bike here. So he gets off. And then I'm running there and I'm like jacked up. I'm like pure energy. And they're like, you can't run on there. I'm like, what are you saying? Like, I'm just running. Like, what's the issue? No one's out here. And this patrol officer comes up to me and she's just like, you want a ticket, bitch? It was so funny. And then I got off because I had to be respectful. But Yeah, it was fun. It was just wild. It's a weird feeling running through New York when it's completely empty.
Yeah.
No one's out at that hour.
Is it just like peak silence? Are you listening to what's the song you
I
guys
did
use?
no-
Painted Black by the Rolling Stones, or
No headphones.
what's the vibe?
No headphones the full time.
Just the feet hitting the pavement.
Just the feet. I talked to my friend a little bit, but not too much. He had headphones, which is good. Doesn't want to listen to me talk to myself for 9 hours. And no, it's just a good exercise and like mental strength and being able to do that.
When it gets hard, do you have affirmations you're saying in your head or aloud, or is it just like complete empty dark space?
I like to, it's just different for the ultra stuff, the long distance versus short distance, like speed. They're so different to me. I personally think the short distance stuff is way harder. And that's kind of why I'm gearing more towards that, more towards marathons again. I miss that challenge. It's a different type of like mantra, I think. I think for the long distance, when you're really pushing, it's a matter of just like sinking. I call it sinking into the run and just turning your brain off completely, because you're not worried as much about pace. It's just worried about you keep going. And there's also fueling. It's so different.
Right.
But the short distance stuff to me is like, it's just different. Short distance, you have to literally romanticize like how your legs feel when they burn.
Yeah.
And you have to like fall in love with that pain and just push it. And you have to literally have these delusionally confident thoughts in your brain. Like I use the mantra over and over. I say like, I'm the one. I'm the one. I'm the one. I say that when I run because I want to believe whether or not it's true. And obviously I'm nowhere near a world-class runner, but just believing that you're different and that you're pushing yourself further than anyone is enough to keep you going, I think. And like I said, whether or not it's true doesn't matter. It's like you just have to convince yourself of it, and it's going to make you run better.
If you went out today, probably not Austin, Texas, it's way too hot here, but like New York, a good weather day, and you just went out to see how far you could run, what do you think the distance would be? Or do you think it'd be a case, knowing you decently well, where you just run until your heart gives out and someone would have to pick up your body?
Yeah, like I don't know. I think I could do 100. I just think like, yeah, it would take me a while. I still want to run across Long Island. I'm going to wait a little bit because it was, I ramped up a little quickly and my knees were getting completely destroyed. And a lot of that's due to me not doing the right strength training, me not doing the right exercises, because I know I could, and then I could do that type of distance, but I was going to fall apart. I was falling apart. Like my knee was like gone the next day.
It's like, stop, bro. Stop.
Yeah.
I'm dying
the
here.
The pavement is different as well. The pavement.
Concrete jungle.
Yeah. It's like you don't see a lot of guys doing like ultras on like pavement. It's kind of brutal.